My review of the movie The Misandrists, or The Misandrists, or whatever, however you say it. I don't know why I don't know how to say that. Hey everybody, it's Prince of Queens, and I just ended up getting back from seeing the Bruce LaBruce movie film, The Misandrists at one of my local art house movies, and it's actually really random how I ended up seeing it. I had heard about it through Miss Misa. She made a video about it, and I hadn't actually seen any previews, but she talked about how it looked horrible based on some of the things that she said. And then I went to a cafe that was right next to this little teeny theater. Like, I've performed at venues way bigger than that theater. And I was eating the food and I noticed that there was a poster for it. And then I realized it was actually playing at the theater, and I realized it was playing tonight. So I decided to go and see it. Now, the reason that I was particularly interested in it, like if it was some movie made by a feminist woman or something, I probably would not go see it at all. But I am more than familiar with Bruce LaBruce's movies, films, or whatever, and I've actually met him before. He's a gay guy that's probably well over 50 by now, maybe even like late 50s. I don't really know his age, but he's been making movies for a while, and he's super, super indie, like to the point where it's generally completely horrible acting. And he actually ends up making movies now that are kind of like John Waters movies, where the acting is sort of terrible, but it's like, oh, it's camp, and you never really would probably know if he's entirely doing that on purpose or if he's doing that to save money instead of hiring particularly professional actors, you know? But his history of movies, I should first tell you about his movies. So his best movie, the one that I saw first, that you should definitely watch if you're at all interested in indie cinema that is of gay culture. This movie's called Hustler White, and I'll just leave that as the screen for a while. Hustler White, I don't know when it came out exactly, but I've seen documentaries about this, and I've known a lot of gay male prostitutes, and from what it looks like, Hustler White is the most accurate depiction of a what's the boulevard in Hollywood where gay male prostitutes are? I forget what it's actually called. There's a particular boulevard. Uh, the day in the life of an actual hustler type gay guy that does such things. That's what Hustler White actually is. And it's just a really good movie. It's really worth watching if you like indie movies that don't necessarily have a particularly cohesive plot that just kind of go anywhere, but does have a plot. And also, if you can get past the fact that there's some pretty bad acting, really, really worth watching. It is a window into a world that you probably wouldn't know about otherwise. And he had to have consulted a lot with prostitutes. Maybe he even hired prostitutes and got to know them. I don't know. So that's a really good movie. And then I also watched most of this movie, but I actually kind of turned it off, I think, called No Skin Off My Ass. No Skin Off My Ass is like some sort of thing about gay skinheads or something. I didn't actually like it. I kind of thought it was boring, so I think I stopped watching it. Finally, there is a movie called Raspberry Reek, and Raspberry Reek is about some sort of crazy Marxist, communist, socialist woman who gets gay guys to... No, they're mostly not gay. I think that they're mostly straight, and she forces them to have sex with each other, saying it's about the revolution. And she has this kind of cult-like control over these straight guys, and she gets them to have sex with each other because it subverts capitalism or something like that. And that movie was weird. I don't remember watching it and particularly liking it at the time, but I also really didn't like it when people talked about Marxism and capitalism, because I actually knew a lot of Marxist type people, and it hit a little close to home, and I just found it kind of boring. But I would actually want to give that movie another go. So, yeah. Then I actually ended up meeting him in San Francisco some number of years ago, probably 8-9 years ago. And it was at some really, really big kind of like loft warehouse party. You know, there was well over 200 people there, probably more like 300 or 400. And I think that he knew a friend of mine that was European. I think that it was a friend that my friend had hooked up with when he was in Europe, and the guy was visiting over here, and he was running around San Francisco having sex with all sorts of men. And that guy somehow introduced me to this filmmaker, Bruce LaBruce. And I think I kind of wanted to have sex with that guy. And then the guy left, probably to go flirt with some other guy or something, like right in front of me. And I think maybe Bruce LaBruce asked me if I was dating him. And so I kind of told him the whole story of how I knew that guy. And I was like, oh, it's my friend's guy that that my friend hooked up with. And now he's visiting over here, and he's kind of being slutty, but I kind of want to have sex with him. And he was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And it seemed like he was interested in just talking to me about that. And I pretended that I didn't know who he was, but I did, because he's actually in a number of his movies. Like, he's in No Skin Off My Ass and in Hustler White. So I knew exactly what he looked like, but I just pretended that I didn't. And hey, I don't know if he appreciated that or not. We probably talked for about 5 minutes, and then for whatever reason, it seemed, I don't know, it's hard to sit there like pretending that you don't know who some, you know, semi-famous, pretty famous in gay land person is. It's kind of strange, and I don't like being semi-dishonest. So that's how I knew him. And on to the review of this movie. I initially was thinking to myself, okay, there have been so many people that I used to think were cool that have been converted into some sort of feminist awfulness and became completely smash the patriarchy, blah, 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 propagandists. And so it wouldn't have surprised me if this movie, The Misandrists, was actually that, right? Like, I was legitimately scared that maybe it was going to be that. And yeah, I was scared. And so I decided to go just to take one for the team, I thought I was going to do at first. But then when I was on my way to going, I realized, I thought about it, and I was like, wait, no. I really doubt that this movie is going to be completely awful and feminist. Because just the way that Bruce LaBruce's movies are, they are so gay male. So incredibly gay male. Like, he would be like a godfather of Gigtow. I swear. Probably. It's not like he doesn't hang out with women, but he is, when I talk about how gay culture is actually great and how there's great gay male culture that exists that's separate from LGBT culture, one of the things I would be thinking of would be Bruce LaBruce. Like movies like Hustler White and stuff. It is totally divorced from any sort of feminism, those old movies, right? So, like, as far away from it as you can get. Like, it's not just males, pretty much. Like, I don't think that maybe there's a single female in all of Hustler White. I'd have to watch it again, but I would be not surprised if there was not a single female actress in the whole movie. But not only is it males, but it's like rough street males that, like, you know, steal stuff from their Johns, and then the John follows them with a pistol because he's a biker, some sort of gay biker right at the beginning, and starts shooting at him and stuff. Like, there's nothing feminist about this. And that's one of the things I like to tell people about. If you actually really are really deeply submerged in gay culture, in the places that gay culture really thrives, like in New York City, San Francisco, and LA, if you're deep in that culture, you learn that there's a lot of guys that have no interest in feminism at all. at all in any way. And so it just wouldn't make sense that this movie, The Misandrists, would actually be for feminists. And what, I don't want to give a lot of spoilers, but basically, yeah, I was right. Yeah. Should you go see it? If it's playing at some small art house movie theater near you, which is probably kind of unlikely, to be honest, it's probably going to have to be something that you watch on the internet when that becomes available. But should you see it? Well, I would say yes, if you watch it on the internet and you have an hour and a half to kill, it's worth watching. But it's also not a must watch. Like, it's not going to be a pleasure to watch in the same way that Infinity War was, you know? It's kind of boring. There's things that are worth seeing about it. But what I will say is this. He did do kind of a brilliant thing by making it, because I think it's going to be a little bit of a bait and switch for a lot of feminists. I think a lot of feminists are going to see it. Actually, there was one person that was at the theater that I think was probably an intersectional, non-binary type person, and it was a female, and she was there with a male, and she was probably like a, Tumblr feminist. And she was young and kind of cute and just had short hair and glasses, and like, she just probably had no idea what she was really getting into. She had probably never heard of Bruce LaBruce at all. And I really wonder what her reaction to it would have been. I should have like tried to like hang out outside of the theater and talk to her. No, that would have, I don't know if that would have been appropriate, but I think that a lot of young Tumblr people would watch it, and okay, well, soon enough there's going to be a negative review of this movie, and they're going to say that it's it's basically the gay triarchy inserting itself over feminism and mocking feminism or something like that. But I don't want to give too much away. It's not the best thing ever, but it did a really, really clever sleight of hand, and I think that there's a very high probability that Bruce LaBruce felt really constricted in the current year as a filmmaker. And keep in mind, he is as indie as they come. He works on such a low budget. So it's not like he's probably ever even had the opportunity to sell out. I mean, maybe he has a little bit for like some sort of tacky gay media commercials or something like that. I don't know. But my guess would be that he's actually really cool and smart, and he probably felt really restricted by the way that feminism has taken over all media and institutions and academia, in the West. I think he lives in Germany because most of the actors or actresses in the movie were German. But I think he got probably really frustrated, and he decided, okay, well, I can't just make some movie that has a bunch of gay guys in it talking about how they hate feminism. He couldn't become me. He couldn't make some movie where he hired me and the gay triarchy guys to just sit there and be bitchy the whole time. So instead, he made this weird kind of like double entendre, provocative art film that you have to like critically examine the message. And I think that you should actually check it out. It's kind of cool. And yeah, go gays. Yeah, I've been saying for a while, and other people have been saying, gays are the biggest the knife that could cut the Achilles heel of feminism is gay men. And it's very obvious. So he could be one of those guys. And yeah, Dan.